And Lauren, let me just start with you. It's dangerous in the media, obviously, to speculate about bankruptcies, but how close are we for some of these household names?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on, Kelly. I appreciate it. But certainly the clock is ticking for some of these department store chains faster than others. I think first and foremost, Neiman Marcus could file for bankruptcy as soon as this week. So less time to spare, I guess, there. And JCPenney as well is on top of the list. I think both of these companies missed interest payments on debt last week, which was kind of put them into this grace period of 30 days where there's not much time. They need to come up with money or else they could ultimately slide into bankruptcy. So those top of the list, but certainly Macy's is trying to come up with cash as well. I think one a former department store chain CEO put it to me best when he said this is a liquidity crisis of enormous consequences. So it's really going to boil down to liquidity. Cash is flowing. When I talk to bankers, there's money out there that will certainly funnel into some of these retailers, but it's going to be a matter of who is worth saving.
Jen, I'd also seen you and others kind of openly talking about the future for JCPenney and Neiman after they've missed those interest payments. So what are we talking about? A reorganization, a liquidation? I think you were the one who made the point. It's hard to have a liquidation sale when no one can go into the stores.
Yes, and I actually expected to see Neiman's file over the weekend, and they didn't. So, there's a possibility they'll sort something else out, and Penny's in the same situation. They may or may not file. But even if Penny's doesn't file, they have about 850 stores. They probably only need more like 500 stores. So if they get one into reorg, it'd probably come out with 500 stores for starters. So I think we would see a big store closing program either way. Neiman's, I've been expecting to go since 2014. They've made it all the way to 2019. But I still think somebody would buy the intellectual property. We know that Bergdorf Goodman's worth, a lot of money. It would obviously go to somebody. It would continue in business. But a lot of retail is going to go away. And even if Macy's doesn't have to file, I don't think they will. I don't think Nordstrom's files. I don't think Kohl's files. I don't think Macy's files. But, Macy's already told us they're going to close 150 stores. My guess is post-COVID, it'll be 200 or 175. It'll be a lot more stores. There's probably at least a 10, maybe even a 20% store closing program at a place like Nordstrom's on the other side of this. And they've only got 123 full-line stores, and they're really well positioned in all the malls.
Yeah.
But they can't really want to keep all of those stores. And so we're going to see that across the industry. And probably 10% of the stores, maybe 20% inside the malls are going to close.
And the crazy thing, Lauren, about this is that, the process of creative destruction is always going to have its winners and losers. And in many ways, that's a healthy thing. But what happens when we're just in the destruction phase because of a pandemic? So, in other words, it's not that they're going out and there's somebody else who's, excited to come in. And maybe there will be. I mean, there have been a lot of companies opening brick and mortar stores lately. But what happens to fill that void?
Oh, I think on many levels it's almost ironic because for the longest time, the real estate industry was touting, we're bringing in gyms and theaters and these experiential places, to drive traffic. And that was what was filling the space of apparel, as that was kind of falling out of fashion. And now, we're thrown into this world where I think many of us are going to be so hesitant to return to those things. And like you said, not many businesses necessarily looking to open right now. So certainly as that space, as these department stores, inevitably, some of them will close. I think it'll take time to repurpose that, whether it turns into an Amazon distribution center. I think maybe that's something we're going to look to versus even a movie theater at this point, just as kind of this entire entertainment industry has been flipped on its head.
No, that's such a good point. I have to continue the conversation about how to reimagine the mall and what that means for everybody left holding the bag. In the meantime, guys, thanks. Appreciate it. It's a tough week for those retailers, as you said. Jen Kniffen and our Lauren Thomas, thank you.